Hello guys, welcome back to another video. I hope you're doing really well today, and if you're new to the channel then welcome as well. Thank you so much to all of the new subscribers that have joined us here. It's our little community of people that absolutely love film. Today we're watching 1944's Laura, and I think it's a film noir. I've been requested this over on Patreon, and I know a little bit about it in the fact that I've seen pictures of it to wear a suit, and it's something to do with a detective? Yes, so it's a police detective that falls in love with the woman whose murder he is investigating, which is interesting. It's a drama, film noir and mystery, and I do love drama, film noirs and mysteries, so yeah. Vincent Price is also in this, playing Shelby Carpenter. If you want to check out the full reactions to this, you can see it over on the Patreon page. Also, don't forget to stick around till the end as well to check out the trivia for the film, so we can find out little bits of information once we've watched it, and then that might help us to piece together things a little bit more. Join me with a nice cup of coffee and let's watch Laura from 1944. Laura? I'm going to guess that's Laura. Gene Tierney, Dana Andrews and Clifton Webb in Laura.
I shall never forget the weekend Laura died.
Ominous.
I felt as if I were the only human being left in New York.
Poetic.
For with Laura's horrible death, I was alone. I was the only one who really knew her. Another of those detectives came to see me.
Those blasted detectives. There he is, see?
I could watch him through the half-open door.
Prying around, trying to find information.
I noted that his attention was fixed upon my
11:33.
only one other in existence, and that was in Laura's apartment.
So there's two clocks the same. Will that come into play at any point?
Careful there. That stuff is priceless.
Don't slam it down.
Please.
You can see, slams the whole tray. That's happened to me before. An old workplace.
Mr. Lydecker?
Oh, you recognize me.
Is he naked? Oh, he's in a bath, right.
Nice little place you have here.
So he's behind a desk at first.
I suppose you're here about the Laura Hunt murder. Yesterday morning, after Laura's body was found, I was questioned by sergeants, and I stated. On Friday night, Laura had a dinner engagement with me, after which she was ostensibly going out of town. She phoned and canceled our engagement at exactly 7 o'clock.
Okay.
After that,
You ate a lonely dinner, then got into the tub to read. Why did you write it down? Afraid you'd forget it?
I am the most widely misquoted man in America.
He's writing it down so he's got it on record.
Mark McPherson, The Siege of Babylon, Long Island. I told the story over the air and wrote a column about it.
He's a radio presenter or a TV presenter. He said I read it on air, so.
You have a pretty good memory, Mr. Lydecker.
Yeah, we'll treat this like we're trying to figure out the case as well, unless it's obvious.
Have you any more questions?
Yeah, just one. 2 years ago in your October 17th column,
Okay, he's a columnist?
you said Harrington was rubbed out with a shotgun loaded with buckshot. The way Laura Hunt was murdered.
Did I?
Yeah. But he was really killed with a sash weight.
I never bother with details, you know.
I do.
So he knows more about it?
Mind if I go with you?
What for?
Where for? Where?
Murder is my favorite crime. I write about it regularly. And I know you'll have to visit everyone. I'd like to study their reactions.
You're on the list yourself, you know.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's a suspect.
To have overlooked me would have been a pointed insult.
But they're not allowed to go with...
Do you really suspect me?
Yes.
They're not allowed to coincide, are they?
How singularly innocent I look this morning.
It's like, do I look like the man that would do that?
Have you ever seen such candid eyes?
That's cool. I used to have one of those. It's like a little...
Something you confiscated in a raid on the kindergarten.
Takes a lot of control. Would you like to try it?
I can't remember where... I think mine was from like a Kellogg's box or something.
Were you in love with Laura Hunt, Mr. Lydecker?
Yes, very much.
Is she in love with you?
Yes, very much.
Most interesting man she'd ever met. I was in complete accord with her on that point.
But she didn't love you.
She thought me also the kindest, the gentlest,
Like a father figure,
most
maybe.
sympathetic man in the world.
She looks younger than him. I don't know, though.
But I tried to become the kindest, gentlest, the most sympathetic man in the world.
Have any luck?
Let me put it this way.
No.
I should be sincerely sorry to see my neighbor's children devoured by wolves. Shall we go?
Wow, he's an arse then. He's that neighbour. The neighbour that would shout over the fence and bang on the fence and say, "Oi, stop the noise." He seems like a nice guy, though. Maybe not. It's interesting because there's little things that he says that makes me think it's him.
Morning, Anne.
I've just taken over the Laura Hunt case.
But then again, they do say that in a lot of crime dramas that almost one of the first people you see is the person that did it. So
Certainly, I'll do anything I can to help.
You were fond of your niece, Mrs. Treadwell?
Why, I adored her.
You collapsed when you identified the body. Can quite understand that. Shotgun loaded with buckshot, close range. Her maid, Bessie. I suppose she was devoted to Miss Hunt?
She worshipped her. Laura had had her for years.
Did you approve of Miss Hunt's coming marriage to Mr. Carpenter?
Shelby Carpenter. So she was about to get married to Vincent Price.
What I mean is he's been a frequent guest in your home. An acquaintance? Friend? Are you in love with him?
Well, no. He was going to get married to her.
I know, I'm very fond of Mr. Carpenter, of course. Everybody is.
Did you give Mr. Carpenter money?
What do you mean?
A couple of checks went through your account.
Oh, that.
Maybe he's blackmailing her?
Shelby's a very obliging fellow.
Or paying him off. Maybe she paid him for getting rid of her.
The day you took out $1,500, Mr. Carpenter deposited $1,350. When you withdrew $1,700, he deposited $1,550.
So it's like 200 something difference.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Treadwell, but I have to find out about these things.
Yeah, it's a process of elimination, so
Shelby needed some money and I lent it to him. Well, after all, it is my money. I suppose I can do as I please with it.
you can. But when there's a murder involved...
Why didn't you go to the concert with Shelby?
Because he didn't ask me.
There he is. Hello, Mr. Shelby, Mr. Vincent Price.
I didn't know you were here, Mr. Carpenter.
Well, as a matter of fact, I was just lying down here.
Of course.
I've hardly slept a wink since it happened.
They're having an affair.
Miss Hunt and I were going to be married this week, you know.
No, he doesn't know. And neither do I, or you, or anyone else alive.
What do you mean by that?
Laura had not definitely made up her mind to marry him.
He did kind of say a minute ago that they were going to, but...
She told me so herself last Friday when she called up to cancel our dinner engagement. As a matter of fact, she was going to the country to think it over. But I was always sure she would have never thrown her life away on a male beauty in distress.
I suppose you've heard losers whine before.
Losers.
I've got to be going.
Well, I rather thought you'd want to ask me some questions.
Oh, he does.
What did they play at the concert Friday night?
Oh, Brahms' First and Beethoven's Ninth.
Have you got a key to Miss Hunt's house up in the country?
No, but I think there's one up in her apartment.
Okay, we'll have a look.
Perhaps I could help you?
No, because he's going to then deposit a key in there. Secretly. He is definitely with her or something. The arm grab, is a comforting thing, I think. It could be read a different way. Just leans out the door. Shut up! There's the clock.
The doorbell rang, and she opened the door.
He's doing the events as it went.
I thought you hadn't been up here before.
He hasn't.
I saw the police photo.
Unless it was him. I'm just making everybody the suspect now. It was him!
I guess I better try and find that key.
Why did they have to photograph her in that horrible condition?
When a dame gets killed, she doesn't worry about how she looks.
Will you stop calling her a dame?
A dame gets killed.
Is this the home of a dame? Look at her.
I love some of the words they use better, like dame and stuff.
Not bad.
Jacoby was in love with her when he painted it, but he never captured her vibrance, her warmth.
He's putting the radio on. Oh, vinyl. He's putting records on. Right.
Would you mind turning that off?
Why, don't you like it?
No, it's just a little bit inappropriate.
Not exactly classical, but sweet.
It's also the music from the trailer.
You know a lot about music?
I don't know a lot about anything, but I know a little about practically everything.
Yeah? And why did you say they played Brahms' First and Beethoven's Ninth at the concert Friday night?
You see, I'd been working on that advertising campaign with Laura, and, well, we'd been working so hard,
You didn't go.
I fell asleep.
Next, he'll produce photographic evidence of his dreams.
He really despises him.
Sounds reasonable. I fall asleep at concerts myself.
Some people do.
You found that key yet?
No, I looked for it in the den, but it wasn't there. It may be in here. Yes, here it is. I knew there must be one around somewhere.
The police are very fussy about their inventories. That key isn't on the list of things that were in that drawer yesterday.
Yep.
But then it's made a recent reappearance.
He, like I said.
You put it there, didn't you?
Yep.
Yes.
Told you.
Just that I didn't want to give it to you while Waldo was present.
Oh.
I have private reasons that don't concern him.
So I said he placed the key, didn't I?
Stop implying that I had anything to do with Laura's death.
Otherwise we'll start implying that you did.
I'll make a direct statement.
All right, you asked for it.
You'd be done for that.
Will you please stop dawdling with that infernal puzzle? It's getting on my nerves.
It's making him think.
But it keeps me calm.
Sometimes things like that, little weird mundane things, sometimes it's just a pastime and past boredom, but
This was our table, Laura's and mine. We spent many quiet evenings here together.
now bringing the policeman to the table.
I remember we dined here the night before her 22nd birthday.
Only 5 years ago, her 22nd birthday.
From the girl who walked into my life 5 years before.
Oh my god, it was. that was a total guess. Oh wait, no. So they met 5 years before her 22nd birthday.
My name is Laura Hunt,
Or maybe I was right. That was
and I'd like to talk something over with you if I may.
That I'm engaged in eating my lunch.
So at this point, he's in an advertising firm.
To see you the regular way, and this will only take a minute, really.
Then he was a journalist, I think. But the sounds of when
Now,
they
this
said
is
A
that,
young woman
an article or something that he'd read. Or
who suffer from the common feminine delusion that the mere fact of being a woman exempts you from the rules of civilized conduct.
well, she's just trying to get her headway into.
The Wallace Flow Right pen. I know my company would be glad to pay you $5,000 if you'll endorse the ad.
I don't use a pen. I write with a goose quill dipped in venom.
Oh, goose quill.
A very fine pen, Mr. Lydecker. The best on the market. Wouldn't you at least consider endorsing it?
Yeah, just.
I'll neither consider, endorse, or use the Wallace pen.
Ooh.
I hate pens.
Oh, he's. Do you remember what I said? He's that guy. No, grumpy.
Don't blame Bullet and Company, Mr. Lydecker. They don't know anything about this.
But so she's going out by herself. Yeah.
Indeed?
Yes.
Yes.
I had this ad made up all on my own because I thought, what's the harm in trying? Just think what it would mean.
You seem to be completely disregarding something more important than your career.
What?
Privacy.
My lunch.
Yeah.
Do you really believe that?
Implicitly.
I never heard of anything so selfish.
Yeah. Just give her some time to go over the
I have
idea.
never discovered any other subject quite so worthy of my attention.
If I was in that job and someone did the same to me, yes, okay, it's getting in the way.
Real understanding and sentiment.
The sentiment comes easily at 50 cents a word.
So he's a columnist and in an advertising agency, maybe both.
Well, if that's the way you really feel, you must be very lonely.
You begin to bore me.
What a dreadful man! Boring you? I give you boring you.
Naturally, I was annoyed by the incident. But she had something about her, that girl.
Yeah, pizzazz. Human decency. It's the paperboy. Hello, paperboy. Just wander right in. Nobody notices. Yeah. Stenographic department. All right. The guy in the background's like, I say.
The Waldo Lydecker to see Miss Laura Hunt. Announce me.
Everyone looks. It's rude.
Tell the gentleman I'm busy.
Miss Hunt,
Take up your offer of the pen.
I wish to point out that you caught me at my most difficult moment. Ordinarily, I am not without a heart. Shall I produce X-ray pictures to prove it? I wish to apologize.
Your apology is accepted.
If you come a little bit closer, my boy, I can just crack your skull with my stick.
He was very, very close.
I'd like to endorse that pen.
He is
Mr.
going to.
Lydecker, thank you.
I agree with him. She is beautiful. But I find that, especially in these older films and that, every woman is just gorgeous.
I'll call for you at 6.
All right.
The start of a beautiful friendship.
Her career began with my endorsement that introduced her to important clients. I gave her her start, but it was her own talent and imagination that enabled her to rise to the top of her profession.
Good. It's a shame that it had to take him to get her there.
But Tuesday and Friday nights we stayed home.
Future Marty here. Apparently this scene was the theatrical released version, which had a bit cut out of it. So this is actually a shorter scene, hence the cut, which I don't know how I completely missed it whilst I was watching it. I'll go over this scene and also play some of the commentary at the end of the video.
Dining quietly.
That was quite seductive, the eating of that.
Then one Tuesday she phoned and said she couldn't come.
She's got a life.
Happened again the following Friday. I was disturbed.
Yeah, but she's probably got a boyfriend or... Oh, is this when she met the Vincent guy? Shelby.
Laura would never betray anyone. I walked for a long time. Then I found myself before her apartment building. The lights were on, till I saw she was not alone.
Told you. Oh, not with him, though. Unless that is him.
I I wanted to see who he was.
As I always say with these, I love the sets and the styles.
It was Jacoby who had recently painted her portrait.
Oh, that's the artist who painted, right.
He was so obviously conscious of looking more like an athlete than an artist. I demolished his affectations. I did it for her, knowing Jacoby was unworthy of her.
I also think the cinematography looks a lot nicer with the 4:3 aspect ratio.
There were others, of course, but her own discrimination ruled them out. Until one night at a party at Anne Treadwell.
When she met Shelby.
All evening to meet you.
How
do?
She was beautiful. Yeah, when she met Shelby.
Hello, Shelby.
Excuse me, honey.
Hello there, Laura.
You're Laura Hunt.
Yes,
I'm Shelby Carpenter.
I'm not alone.
Oh, him? I bet he's still doing the polka.
Yes, I am.
Betsy Ross taught it to me.
Oh, may I have a glass of milk from Lydecker?
Milk?
I also read palms. I cook. I swallow swords. I mend my own socks.
Swallow sword.
What more can you want of a man?
What?
Don't listen to that scallywag.
We're old friends. She feeds me, humors me, repairs me, and refuses to marry me, don't you, honey?
I do.
She has good sense.
He's got a good personality.
You're wasting your time. She's got good sense, too.
You're jealous.
And what does it feel like, Mr. Carpenter,
What does what feel like, Miss Hunt?
living on the income from an estate?
Well,
Or don't you know?
Well, I did until the sheriff took it over.
Why maintain the fiction? Why not work?
Believe it or not, I asked one of my many friends for a job once. He thought I was joking.
Weren't you?
No.
Do you really want a job?
One thing I love in vintage films as well, they still do it now, when they show a solo woman, no matter who it is, they do the haze look. They use like a specific, I have a lens for my camera that does the same thing.
If you don't come with me this instant, I shall run amok.
You've got a job.
I concealed my annoyance with masterly self-control, but I sensed a situation which could bear watching.
Do you like it?
Is it?
It should. It's excellent.
Markham's, right.
It's really very good. Who's the model?
You.
Diane Redfern.
Oh.
You hired her yourself last week, don't you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Well, would you dine with me tomorrow night?
Maybe.
No, that isn't what's worrying me. It's the next night. What about 3 weeks from tonight and all the nights in between?
He wants to take all of your time to himself.
What about next year?
That's all settled. What about breakfast?
What about dancing?
What about lunch?
What about work?
You'd think I was in love with you.
Well, I am. I thought maybe he'd done that on purpose at first. I don't think he knew he was there.
I went to call for you.
I'm sorry, Waldo.
And that reminds me, old Mother Hubbard has something in the cupboard.
To fetch her a poor doggy a bone.
Private investigation of that sterling character, Mr. Shelby Carpenter. Did you know that he almost went to jail for passing rubber checks?
Don't do this. Bitter. Absolutely bitter.
That was only insinuation.
He's taking away the attention from her.
These aren't only insinuations, my dear.
It's fact.
I know his faults. A man can change, can't he? His past is his own affair. I only care about the present.
Just realised. The plot of this film is the police detective falling in love with her after she passed.
He's now running around with a model from your own office. Her name is Diane Redfern.
I'm closer to despising you than I
So
thought I ever would be.
far, we've not seen much of it, but maybe we're building the character on him being jealous first, so.
I should have told you before. Shelby and I are going to be married next week.
He isn't gonna like
I
that.
believe you presented him with a cigarette case on his last birthday. Rather valuable,
That-
isn't it?
Where did
Wow.
you get it?
From the pawn shop where Diane Redfern took it after he gave it to her.
Oh. No, he's stolen that.
Money and was too proud to borrow.
Carpenter proud. Perhaps that's why the pawn ticket was in her name.
Before this goes any further, well, I'll just...
He isn't
It's
home.
no use. Yeah. Also, how does he know that he's not home?
He's dining at Anne Treadwell's.
Oh, right. It's like he answered my question.
I'm afraid she'll say he isn't there.
He thinks he's clever. He's just holding her down.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah. Why are you doing this? Exactly. Because he wants you all to himself.
For you, Laura. Shall we pay them a visit?
He won't be there, Waldo. I know he won't.
We'll see. Don't you want to take this little bauble along in case he is there?
Yeah, I think he might be. I hope he isn't. I hope he isn't stringing her along by dining with another woman, but...
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Treadwell is not home.
We know, dear. Good evening.
Yeah, the woman that we saw earlier. Yep.
Hello, darling. I didn't expect to see you tonight.
She's not home. Lies.
Supreme disaster, he's trite.
You've been reading too many melodramas, Waldo.
So he knew already about that.
I was just telling Anne about our getting married.
That isn't what he was
Would you
doing.
like a glass of wine? Why didn't you sit down?
It's nervous laughter. How are you going to find out? I've been cheating.
I couldn't find out if she saw Carpenter in the meantime. All I know is that on Friday she had lunch with Diane Redfern. What came of it, I hope to hear that night. When the phone rang, I had a foreboding of disaster.
I feel like he's that the gossip of the street. Like, he knows
I called
everything.
to tell you, Waldo, I'm frightfully sorry. I can't have dinner with you tonight. Oh, no, I'm not sick. I'm just dreadfully nervous. I'm going to the country for a few days. Yes, I'm afraid it's about Shelby. Oh, no, please, there's nothing you can do. I've got to think this thing out for myself. I'll call you when I get back.
And is this then going to be the point where...
The last time I ever heard her voice.
Yeah, the point where something's then happened to her. So how it always happens. Just going away for a few days. Never heard of her again.
Where does this Diane Redfern live?
Brooklyn somewhere.
It's a rather extravagant place. It's a nice, sweet, kind of cozy place where they are there.
I shall never forgive myself for letting her become involved with Shelby. It was my fault. I should have stopped it somehow.
Well, it's too late now.
Yeah, but he's
Thanks for the wine.
not going to like him because he's starting to like Laura, even though she's not alive anymore. It's confusing.
Hello, Miss Cornies. This is Lieutenant McPherson, Homicide Bureau.
I say that because of the plot line.
Laura Hunt had been buying her liquor from you for several years, hadn't she? Did she ever buy a brand of scotch called
thinks-
Black Pony?
Yeah, he thinks that it might be poisoned, maybe.
Yeah. That's all I wanted to know, thanks.
She never bought it from them, maybe.
She's here, McPherson, the maid.
My name's Bessie, and I'm a domestic, and I got nothing to be ashamed of. Her letters and her private diary.
What about her?
You've been reading them, pawing over them. It's a shame in the face of the dead. That's what it is. It's a shame.
Well, it is a shame, but they need to...
Go ordering me around. I ain't afraid of cops. I was brought up to spit whenever I saw one.
They need to go over all the details.
Who killed Laura Hunt?
How would I know?
You might have seen something.
You don't think I done it? I know
No.
you cops get crazy notions. But if you got any notion concerning me, ask anyone. Anyone who ever come to this house.
She has got those crazy eyes. So.
I would have washed, ironed, scrubbed, done everything she wanted of me, whether she paid me for it or not. It was because she was so sweet herself. Because she was a real fine lady.
You could twist it on his head that if she was going to leave her to live with another guy or marry Shelby and leave,
That's all the more reason why you should help me, Bessie.
they didn't want her there.
Do you happen to know how this got into her liquor cabinet?
She would feel that way. I can't see that being the way that...
I put it there.
But she never bought cheap stuff like that. Not a lady like Miss Hunt.
No.
When did you put it in the cabinet?
It was for her.
Saturday?
Before the police came. Was it there Friday night before you left?
No.
Are you sure of that?
Right.
I cleaned out the cabinet on Friday and put the empties in the basement.
Then somebody was with her in the apartment Friday night. Someone who brought that bottle.
Yes.
Who?
I don't know, but I didn't want anyone getting any wrong ideas about her. That's why I took it out of the bedroom and put it in the cabinet before the police got here. And that ain't all I done. I washed out the glasses and cleaned off the bottle, too.
She wiped away evidence.
Do you know what happens to people who destroy evidence?
Yeah.
You ain't gonna tell the newspaper reporters, are you?
No, but he could charge you
Nasty stories and drag her name through the mud.
for wiping evidence.
But it won't do you any good. I'll say you lied. I'll say you
Take
come
it
here
easy,
and...
Bessie. Get me some ice and a setup, will you?
Was he going to
A couple of highball
drink
glasses.
some?
Good morning. Lieutenant McPherson's in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I only sent for you, Carpenter.
I know.
Shelby's dropping me off at the hairdresser's later, so I thought I might as well come along.
Of course you did.
I just popped in to pay my dubious respects and inquire as to the state of your health.
They just all want to find out what's going on.
For a drink, would you care to join me?
Well, that's a very nice idea.
I see no reason to exclude myself. The host provides scotch.
Let's do.
I presume it'll have to.
How about you, Carpenter?
He's trying to see...
I don't think I care for any. I'm not much of a daytime drinker.
He's trying to see if anyone will decline it.
I shall probably just call in Corey.
Lancaster Corey, the art dealer?
Yes, let him dispose of everything. It'll be less gruesome that way.
Not quite everything, Anne. But 2 or 3 things in here belong to me. Spars, for instance.
I mean, he's taking a big gamble.
That clock, of course. And
Giving them the drink that potentially could be poisoned.
They aren't yours. You gave them to Laura. I won't permit it.
doesn't alleged fiancé have any voice in this matter?
I mean, he didn't say about the poison thing, but...
Take the vase with me now and send someone to collect the other things this very day.
Just start to take her stuff.
Nothing's leaving here except you, Lydecker.
Yeah.
Is that your quaint way of indicating dismissal?
Yes. Bye-bye.
Anyway, I have to be back at headquarters.
But, Lieutenant, I don't understand. You sent for me, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yay.
Well, don't you want to see me? Don't you want to ask me some questions?
I'll be seeing you.
Are you making any progress on the case, Lieutenant?
We're doing all right.
Why do you want to know all the information? Judge, I'm doing what I can. That is a great shot with the rain.
Take your time.
Yes. Is he going in to see if the bottle's been taken now? Maybe. Hey, maybe the police officer is the guy that she was with. The maid said she was with someone when something happened to her. She said, oh, it was just some guy that came in. Well, she knew that she was with someone. But then he wouldn't need to do all of this kind of stuff because he would know. Unless he was with her, left her, and then something happened to her. Like it was the guy out of jealousy for her being with him. Or being with a guy because he wouldn't know it was him. I quite like that shot a second ago where you could see Laura through the door, the painting of Laura. It would have been quite interesting if they had like a long shot in the middle of the room where you could see her out of the corner through the doorway and just him wandering into the room. God, mate, if they don't know how she died, like, I wouldn't be drinking her drinks just in case. You never know. These films are full of poisons and stuff, so...
Ben?
Her phones are tapped. Right.
What's the matter? Did you go to sleep? Does MacPherson, any calls come through? No, nothing new.
I happen to see the lights on.
Mm-hmm.
Have you sublet this apartment? You're here often enough to pay rent.
Any objections?
No, he's just there checking things over.
I object to you prying into Laura's letters, especially those from me.
Why? Yours are the best in the bunch.
Thanks. But I didn't write them to you. Haven't you any sense of privacy?
He's got a big thing against privacy. To privacy.
Murder victims have no claim to privacy.
Have detectives who buy portraits of murder victims a claim to privacy? Lancaster Corey told me that you've already put in a bid for it.
That's none of your business.
MacPherson, did it ever strike you that you're acting very strangely? It's a wonder you don't come here like a suitor with roses and a box of candy. Have you ever dreamed of Laura as your wife? By your side at the policeman's ball or in the bleachers?
So he does know.
Why don't you go home? I'm busy.
Perhaps we can come to terms now.
Did he know her before she passed then? I thought he just knew her because of now.
I want my possessions. Now, if you...
Get going.
You better watch out, MacPherson, or you'll end up in a psychiatric ward. I don't think they've ever had a patient who fell in love with a corpse.
Yeah, I was going to say. You got romantically involved with someone who's not alive anymore. Or felt something romantic, should I say. You can't get romantically involved with her, but... I love that shot with... They've got the little spotlight on her. It's great. Sometimes old picture frames had like the little spotlight above to shine a light on pictures like that. He just looks up. Here's looking at you, kid. Wrong film. He's now going to dream of her. She's there in the room. Maybe? I was right, yeah. This is pretty cool. Different as well. I don't think I've ever seen a film like an old film like this that does this. Laura?
What are you doing here?
You're alive.
If you don't get out at once, I'm going to call the police.
I am the police.
You are Laura Hunt, aren't you?
I'm going to call the police.
But I am the police.
What's this all about?
Unless he's not dreaming.
Haven't you seen the papers?
And really it's all been a big lie.
Where have you been?
Up in the country, I don't get a newspaper.
Haven't you got a radio?
Because she did say she was going to the country, so.
It was broken.
I'm inclined to think that it is a dream, that he is just dreaming this, but...
Somebody was murdered in this room. Do you have any idea who it was?
The way the camera was at the beginning with the bottle and stuff, so I presume it is a dream.
Who had a key to your apartment?
Nobody.
You sure?
When did it happen?
Friday night.
What are you going to do now?
Find out who was murdered, and then find the murderer. You better take off those wet clothes. You might catch cold.
Yeah. I found this in my closet.
I mean, it's a long dream.
It's Diane Redford. It wasn't here when I left. She's one of our models. Just about my size.
Yeah. Huh? Kind of looks a little bit like you as well.
Suppose.
Oh, that it could have been her instead. And maybe so is this real then? I thought this was a dream.
This is Monday night. You left on Friday. Rather a long weekend, isn't it?
Yes.
What train did you take?
The 7:26.
See anybody you knew on the train?
No.
I'm confused. Not confused, but I'm just...
Then I went to the garage where I keep my car. It's a private garage. Then I drove to my house.
But would he know this kind of information, though?
You were there 3 days. What did you do?
Worked in my garden.
You didn't go out in all that time?
I had everything I needed in the house.
Nobody came to see you?
Nobody. I went there to be alone.
Police were there on Saturday. There was no one in the house.
Yeah, I was going to say the police would have been there at some point, so...
Saturday, I took a long walk. I walked for hours in the woods.
Of course you did.
You were going to marry Shelby Carpenter this week.
Yes.
Yet you went away just before your wedding for a long weekend to be alone.
Cold feet?
You know Shelby Carpenter has a key to this apartment. Why didn't you tell me?
I know nothing of the sort.
How else did the girl get into the apartment? You knew she was in love with Carpenter, that he'd given her your cigarette case.
I knew that she was in love with him.
When did she tell you?
At lunch last Friday.
Oh.
I also know that she meant nothing to Shelby.
She was found in your dressing gown and slippers. That's
Yeah.
hardly the regulation costume for an impersonal chat between a man and woman who mean nothing to each other.
I don't know that he brought her here, neither do you.
What other assumption is possible?
My brain is still trying to figure out if this is...
You suspect me?
This is his brain making this up, or if this is real now.
You read things I never meant anyone else to look at.
Strictly routine. I'm sorry. Really.
She said information like
I must ask you not to leave the house or use the phone.
the dinner and all that stuff, so...
Am I under arrest?
No, but you will be.
If anything should happen to you this time, I wouldn't like it. You may as well know what I know. I know that you went away to make up your mind.
About the marriage.
Whether you would marry Shelby Carpenter or not.
Yeah. Cold feet.
I want the truth.
I decided not to marry him.
He's happy
See
about
you in the
it.
morning. Good night.
Because I want to marry you. But is this real? Tell me. Oh, she didn't pick up the phone. I was going to say it's bugged, so...
Does McPherson know that? Goodbye.
That was the medical examiner's report. It wasn't Laura Hunt. It was Diane Redfern that was bumped off upstairs. Say, you're not taking it too hard.
That was real.
This is Laura.
It's the girl.
Don't say anything on the phone. Meet me right away. I'll wait for you in my car in front of Bullets.
That was real. I thought it was...
Dames are always pulling a switch on you.
What the hell? I thought that was a dream. I kept thinking in my head, oh, maybe this is real. Maybe this is real. But I wasn't taking it too seriously because of it. They did the thing with him falling asleep and then they pull back again and it makes it seem like it was him dreaming. And I suppose that's what they were trying to do.
You follow her, I'm going to tail him.
Oh my god. I like that, though, because they took the filmmaking aspect where you would do that going into a dream sequence, like the close-up on him, and then pull back and then show the dream sequence kind of thing. Unless this is all his dream. How do we know that he hasn't not popped out of his dream yet, so...
Are you taking it down or putting it away, Carpenter?
Oh, Shelby.
It's been fired lately.
Yes, I killed some rabbits with it.
When?
Oh, okay.
Oh, a while back. I don't know exactly.
Looks like freshly fired.
How come you didn't clean it afterward?
I don't know. I forgot, I suppose.
Your initials?
Yes, I gave it to Laura for protection.
If you fire a gun long enough, then presumably you'd know about the cleaning thing. So.
This house is rather isolated, as you see.
Does she know how?
I don't know. It didn't occur to me to ask.
You haven't borrowed it lately. You didn't just bring it back tonight.
You followed me here. You saw me come in. You ought to know.
Yeah, he didn't bring it back. It was on the wall.
You took that poor girl to Miss Hunt's apartment.
Bit weird that he took it off the wall.
Didn't you know Laura Hunt would come back any day and spill the whole thing?
Yep, and he didn't know it was gonna happen.
Or did you plan to kill her too?
You're being fantastic, McPherson.
No, he planned to go away with her.
You took a bottle of Black Pony to her house Friday night.
I took it there over a week ago.
Bessie says it wasn't there Friday night.
I can't help what Bessie said.
Where's the key to her apartment?
I haven't got it.
What did you do with it? Give it back to her tonight?
I never had one.
How did you get in? Well, you had a key and I know it.
Yeah, because he had the key and he told him he had the key and he dropped it.
Laura kept a duplicate key at her office. I went over and got it.
Ah, that makes sense, right.
I'd asked Diane to dine with me. I wanted to have it out with her once and for all. Well, she thought she was in love with me. Well, we couldn't go on talking in public places. I couldn't go to her room, and I didn't want to take her to my hotel.
I don't believe he
We went to Laura's.
would do anything weird.
Talked there for about 3 hours. Then the doorbell rang, and
Yeah.
Diane was frightened. But knowing Laura as I've known her, I've learned to be surprised at nothing.
Someone at the door did it.
Friends would come to her with their troubles at all hours of the day or night. I asked Diane to answer the door.
And it was dark, and the other guy got her thinking it was her, not knowing that she was going away.
Well, I asked her to tell them that Laura had lent her the apartment while she was away. Anybody that knew Laura would have believed that.
But she didn't.
Well, then the doorbell rang again. I could hear Diane's mules, Laura's they were, clattering across the bare boards between the rugs. Then there was a moment's silence, and then a shot.
Yeah.
It was an awful explosion. She lay there on the floor.
You got to see who it was?
No, I was too confused.
The woman that looked kind of like her.
The room was dark. I saw only a vague...
The room was dark, told you.
I think I called her name, but I'm not sure. My first instinct was to call the police.
Why didn't you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt that I must keep out of this, to keep Laura out of it. Oh, I know now how foolish and hopeless it was. There was only one thing on my mind. The safety of a person whose life was dearer to me than my own.
It was a bit weird, though. He was in her apartment.
Do you think Laura had done it?
I don't remember what I thought.
Yeah, it could have been. Her at the door, seeing someone else in there with him, and yeah.
When our men went to the hotel to tell you that Laura was dead, you seemed sincerely shocked.
I hadn't expected that mistake.
But you had your alibi ready, no matter who was dead.
I was incapable of thinking at all.
What did you and Laura talk about tonight?
I told her the whole story.
She phoned you after she promised me she wouldn't call anybody. Why don't you tell the truth?
Yeah, but they're hiding.
She sent you here to get rid of this gun.
She doesn't even know I'm here.
Hiding something, maybe?
It works fine, doesn't it?
Yes, did you think it wouldn't?
I hoped it wouldn't.
What's that?
Breakfast.
He's buying her food now. There's that clock again.
Can you make coffee?
Do you always sound like this in the morning?
Grumpy.
Don't move.
Oh God, nobody told her that she was alive.
It's all been a mistake, Bessie.
Oh my God, bless her.
I found you and you did.
It was Miss Redfern's body you found.
Oh,
Fixing us some coffee and eggs.
was she?
I saw it with my own eyes.
Did she maybe do it?
I don't understand it.
I don't think she did. She seems really nice.
You'll be all right, Bessie.
Oh, bless her. Or did she do it? She's like, huh?
By the way, I've asked Waldo Lydecker to come here this morning.
Did you tell him?
No.
Yep.
Why not? It's brutal.
I'm not doing it for fun.
Doing it to see the actual reaction of
Why
it.
did you break your promise and go out and see Shelby last night?
You forced me to give you my word. I never have been, and I never will be bound by anything I don't do of my own free will.
Kind of feel like he should get her to hide when the guy comes.
Just sit still.
Oh, he's just going to get her to sit there.
Hello, Lieutenant. Morning, my darling.
Hello, dear.
I thought the other guy was coming over, not him.
So he made you change your mind.
Speaking of changing one's mind, Mr. McPherson, I have just come from my lawyer.
Yeah, because she wasn't feeling it, was she?
Anything I may have said last night was said under duress and can't be used against me. Besides, none of it was true.
Smart lawyer you've got, Carpenter. Maybe he told you how that Scotch got up here. Maybe it was the lawyer who brought Diane Redfern up here.
There's the guy that we were waiting for. Not the silly sausage, Shelby.
Well, McPherson, have you thought over the deal I suggested?
Come on, look over, look over, look over. Yep. Oh! Jesus.
Right hand pocket. Right hand pocket.
What is it?
You'd better take him into the bedroom.
I mean, he's just seen the woman that he cared so much about still alive.
Your methods are vicious. There ought to be a law against it.
He is doing it a bit.
It's a terrible shock, poor darling.
Don't tell me you're in love with him, too.
No, she just cares about him.
Let him talk to our lawyer.
Our lawyer.
Look at him, Laura. He's beginning to crack up.
I've got enough on you to arrest you right now.
Quick, McPherson, the handcuffs. Trundle him off to the hoosgow.
You keep out of this.
Oh, he's recovered quick, isn't he?
Why don't you get down on all fours again? It was the only time you've ever kept your mouth shut.
Oh, you'll forgive my wee touch of epilepsy, my dear.
Oh, it's epilepsy. I thought if that was epilepsy, it was more fainting, really, but...
What does Laura's resurrection do to you?
Too bad Diane Redfern can't be resurrected.
My mum had epilepsy, so... There's different forms of it, though, I think.
You've made me change my mind for the moment.
Well, in that case, we'll have time for a little get-together.
You're going to stay there?
People are coming to celebrate your return. And Bullet and Corey, everybody.
No!
Who asked them to come?
I did, when I wasn't there.
Oh, for God's sake.
Sorry you went through all that trouble. I've already called them.
He's such an arse, though. Just putting plans on her. Everybody, she's still alive. They've all gone through a massive shock as well.
Now, if you'll forgive me, Laura wants a cocktail.
So do I. You know it's all over between you and Laura. It soon will be. You haven't lost me.
Oh, God.
Why don't we get married?
Why don't we get married?
You don't seem to realize
Yes, but
the
I do.
situation.
He doesn't love you. Maybe he does.
Laura needs me. Sorry.
Let me guess, he cares about Laura more than he cares about her, but he does still like her as well, so she's like second best,
Laura?
I think. It's a weird mush of love stories.
If you don't mind, I'd like a word with Miss Hunt.
Talk to her as much as you like.
see he's taking a new tack.
What do you mean?
Trying to make you like him, to make you talk.
Why did you go to...
Oh, go away. Let them talk.
Why did you go to the cottage last night?
I was afraid you wouldn't think of hiding that shotgun.
What shotgun?
The one I gave you.
What?
You don't have to lie to me, darling. I'll stand by you.
What?
What's the matter, Laura?
Oh, I guess I'm just nervous, that's all.
So am I.
But
McPherson suspects Shelby.
He seems to suspect me, too.
how did she forget that, though, if that really happened? Or, if not, why would he make that up?
Don't be absurd. You could never do a thing like that.
And Shelby?
Oh, I don't think he did it, but he's capable of it.
There's been a lot of stress, though, so maybe she just forgot.
He was interested in McPherson as he is in you.
But Anne, I only met him last night.
It's more than long enough sometimes. Anyway, he's better for you than Shelby. Anybody is.
It's just trying to get him.
Shelby's better for me.
Yeah, him all to herself.
Because I can afford him and understand him.
What, she can't?
I'm not a nice person, Laura, neither is he.
Well, we all know you're not very nice, love, but
He also knows that I don't care.
Shelby seems alright.
We belong together because we're both weak and can't seem to help it. That's why I know he's capable of murder. He's like me.
What? You're capable of...
No, dear, I didn't.
I was gonna say.
But I thought of it.
I'm still trying to piece together what... But the shotgun thing, though.
Hello?
Maybe she's got split personality. Maybe
What's for you?
she was told. Maybe she did it and she's just forgotten. That's why she said, I went away, so that she would have the alibi of being away.
I told you I'd bring in the killer today. Yeah, I was just going to make the arrest when you called. No, I can't tell you now. I'm not alone.
In front of everyone. Hence why he called everyone there. This is juicy. I love it. Who? Them? No. I was going to say, it's not going to be the first ones he goes to. It'll be someone you least expect. Laura herself.
All right, let's go.
You mean?
Yeah.
I was right. Was I right? Was I right?
Not Miss Hunt. Please.
There was the alibi of her going away to cover the fact that she was actually the murderer herself.
Now, will you please be good enough to go and get me my things?
I was right.
Don't worry, darling. Let them accuse you. We'll fight them. I have every weapon.
Just like they don't have to accuse me. I did it.
And my column. Every day, millions will read about you and rally to your defense.
I wouldn't have expected her to do it, though.
You talk as if you wanted to see her tried for murder.
Yes, rather than let you blacken her name with suspicions and rumors, try to prove her guilty. Get on the witness stand with your poor shreds of evidence. I'll expose your cheap methods you used on her.
I told you to watch out for this fellow.
Can we go now?
I warned you.
It's too bad you didn't open that door Friday night, Carpenter.
Wait a minute.
Shelby. Oh, did he hurt you, darling?
Oh, yes, going back to your second best. Yeah.
Come in.
Did she do it? I mean, I know I guessed it, but
We'll be all Gallagher. Yes.
I also guessed that he might have done it, or maybe they're collabing together. They won't be, but
Let's have it.
the old torture method.
What are you trying to do?
That's a lovely shot of her.
You've been holding out, and I want to know why. It'll be easier for you if you tell the truth.
What difference does it make what I say? You've made up your mind I'm guilty.
Are you?
Don't tell me you have any doubts.
Her whole tone has now changed.
No, I didn't kill Diane Redfern.
Oh, she did.
Or anyone else.
But she's now more Dame.
Tell me the radio at your country place was broken.
Because it was broken. Just as I was leaving the village, I asked the local handyman to fix it.
You're too intelligent to make up something I could check so easily. The main thing I want to know is why you pulled that switch on me about Carpenter. You told me last night you decided not to marry him.
Yes, I guess I did.
But today it was on again.
I changed my mind.
But
What are you trying to hide?
so many things are she covering for someone?
Did you just tell me that? Because you knew I wanted to hear it.
No, that isn't it, I don't think.
That if you broke the engagement now, people would think you believed he was guilty.
People would suspect.
No, I'm sure he isn't. But he'd gotten himself into an awfully suspicious position. And he's the sort of man that people are always ready to believe the worst about.
Are you in love with him?
I don't see how I ever could have been.
So she doesn't like him at all. Shelby, that is.
Come on, you're going home.
I thought I was...
That's what I wanted you to think.
Ha!
You and a few others. I didn't even book you.
You mean this was some sort of a game?
Oh my God.
I was 99% certain about you. But I had to get rid of that 1% doubt.
Wasn't there an easier way to make sure?
I'd reached a point where I needed official surroundings.
Then it was worth it, Mark.
What?
I'll call a cab for you.
Did she say it was worth it, Mark? Does she know him intimately?
Night. I'll see you tomorrow.
Good night, Mark.
Yeah, Mark. She said Mark.
I'm going over to Lydecker's apartment.
I was thinking when they first met that it was a dream, so... Is it something to do with the clocks? Another clock like... Yeah, that's the clock that was like her one, yeah. Yeah, why is it chiming on... I did mention something about the clock earlier, but... Hello. A gun, maybe. Alright, mate. There was a gun in there and he's got it with him.
He's been dealing with criminals too long.
Or he's gonna do it and then hide it in that clock, maybe?
When you were unattainable, when he thought you were dead.
Or it is hidden in that clock.
But he was glad when I came back, as if he were waiting for me.
Do you know what he calls women?
Which could be the reason he was coming back to the apartment that night, to get it back.
That doesn't mean anything. He isn't like that.
He doesn't trust him anyway, so...
With you, a lean, strong body is the measure of a man, and you always get hurt.
No man is ever going to hurt me again. No one. Not even you.
Don't say that.
I hurt you?
Never.
When a man has everything in the world that he wants, except what he wants most, he loses his self-respect. It makes him bitter, Laura. He wants to hurt someone as he's been hurt. You were a long time in finding out about Shelby. That's over now. We'll be back together again. Haven't you heard of science's newest triumph? The doorbell?
Oh, him.
That was the murderer's signal.
There was that little bit of... They didn't show him, so I wasn't sure if it definitely was him.
I thought you'd like to know. We tested your shotgun. It isn't the one.
Now that's what I call a typical move.
Yeah.
A real key to the man's character.
It's his.
First he tells you that he thinks you're innocent, then proceeds to check up on you.
Maybe.
If McPherson weren't muscular and handsome in a cheap sort of way, you'd see through him in a second.
Waldo, I mean to be as kind about this as I know how.
I don't like you, yeah.
You're the one who follows the same obvious pattern. First it was Jacoby, then Shelby, and now I suppose... I don't think we should see each other again.
Yeah.
You're not yourself, darling.
Oh.
Yes, I am.
They're not even together.
For the first time in ages, I know what I'm doing.
They're just something. Friends.
My congratulations, McPherson. Listen to my broadcast in 15 minutes. I'm discussing great lovers of history.
Mm-hmm. If you make it that far.
It was the most difficult thing I ever had to do in my whole life.
All I need is the gun.
Yep, and the clock. I was right.
Do you know the combination to this thing?
I never had one.
Just kick it in.
Be somewhere. Oh.
Oh, she doesn't want to wreck her one. Hey, there you go. Cha-ching! He stashed it in there after he...
Have you ever seen this before?
Did it to what's her name? To the one that's like her.
Waldo gave you that clock, didn't he?
Yep.
Yes.
So that there was a clock like his.
The doorbell rang, and Diane Redfern went to the door.
Yep, he thought it was you.
The room was dark. Waldo saw a girl standing there, and he assumed it was you. He figured that if he couldn't have you himself, he was going to make sure that nobody else did.
I should be a detective. Then again, I put it wrong many times in this.
She fell here. Waldo heard Shelby running from the next room, so he hid in the stairway outside. Shelby was scared. He ran out as fast as he could, then Waldo came back, placed the gun on that clock.
I couldn't make myself believe that Waldo was a murderer.
Well, he is.
He didn't really kill Diane Redfern. I killed her.
What are you talking about?
Ah?
But I did, Mark.
Ah?
I did as surely as if I'd pulled the trigger myself.
Oh, metaphorically she means. Right, okay.
I'm as guilty as he is.
Because I invited her over here.
Not for anything I did. For what I didn't do.
I led her on. I brought her onto the team. She was like me.
I owed him too much.
Dude, you've been standing there for ages with the same look. What are you doing?
But I can't understand why you've tried so hard to protect Shelby.
Is he going to come and find the gun, try to shoot it? There's no bullets.
It was his way of getting rid of Shelby, just as he did Jacoby.
You certainly surrounded yourself with a remarkable collection of dopes.
He's putting the gun back. And Thingy doesn't know about the gun being empty. Waldo's outside the door. He was.
Good night, Mark.
Oh, romantic.
Forget the whole thing like a bad dream.
Is he gonna... Oh, Thingy's gonna see that. Waldo's gonna see it, isn't he? Because he's there, hiding in the darkness, probably. And they're gonna go in and shoot her, thinking... He's there. And it's now dark, but there's no bullets in the gun. Unless while they were turned around, he snuck back in and he's now in the other room there. You know, when they were turned around the other way. Because I thought he was just going to be there at one point, like holding the gun. I was right. Holy flipping... I was right. I should write for film. She just heard it. He's not going to do this. There's no bullets. He can't shoot you. Now she's got her own gun.
And thus, as history has proved, love is eternal. Love is stronger than life.
So is it meant to be a live show? And it's pre-recorded to hide the murders? Maybe?
The weeping and the laughter.
I'm just trying to figure out the reason. Because I thought he was doing live shows. I didn't realise it was a pre-record.
After we pass the gate.
Who's tailing Lydecker?
Wait, no, he just put bullets into it. I just realised.
He left 5 minutes ago. He didn't come out this way.
No, he's now like, run back upstairs.
They are not long, the days of wine.
Go back up.
Out of a misty dream, our path emerges for a while.
Look, are you blind? Look, you must know he's there.
That's the way it is, isn't it?
I was going to say, do you not have peripherals?
I've heard the voice of Waldo Lydecker.
Yes, you have.
Waldo, you've taken one life. Isn't that enough?
Ah, brilliant actress. The look of fear in her eyes is so good.
The best part of myself. That's what you are. Do you think I'm going to leave it to the vulgar pawing of a second-rate detective?
I hope they're blanks.
Do you think I could bear the thought of him holding you in his arms, kissing you, loving you?
He's replaced them with blanks. Please tell me he's replaced them with blanks.
Laura! Find us together, Laura.
No.
We always should be, as we always will be.
Oh wait, that door goes into there as well. Oh yeah, that's the one the maid went through earlier. The gun wasn't a blank then.
Goodbye, Laura.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, my love.
That was good. I like that little extra. Goodbye, my love. Yeah, it's intriguing that both films, Citizen Kane and this one, use inanimate objects as part of their sort of thing. Like the clock in this, and you've got the snow globe in Citizen Kane. I really love that film. All of the actors were absolutely phenomenal in that. Jean Tierney as Laura Hunt was absolutely phenomenal. Brilliant actress. She had that look of fear and shock, and you didn't know I didn't know 1 second to the next she was telling the truth or not. She seemed like a really nice girl, but then at the same time, like when she went in for questioning, she had that almost bitter fierceness. Dana Andrews, who played the detective, that's Mark McPherson, and then Vincent Price was incredible as well. And he was more of a sweet kind of guy, or came across as more sweet anyway. Not that he was, because he was cheating on her with Anne. Anne was just bitter. She was just a mother kind of figure, if that makes sense. Whereas Jean was lovely, or I should say Laura was lovely. Anyway, either way, the film was really well put together. The clock struck me at first, pun not intended, but the clock was there at the beginning. It just almost was there, just lingering around. I kept thinking there's not going to be like a big point in the film that something's going to happen with the clock, but I didn't know what. I had a feeling it was something to do with the time on the clock was going to be a factor as to when they died or something. Or in the older films, things like that do happen, but I didn't expect it to house the gun. And when they had the moment with the clock, I went, the other one will be the hiding place that he puts the gun and then gets it out, and yeah. And I really love, I love the storyline. I love everything in that. The cinematography was fantastic. It was the lighting, it was the story, the acting was just top notch, and the suspense as to who actually did it. Well, I kept thinking for a short time maybe it was the detective that did it. I think I even said at one point that I thought it might have been Laura, but I wasn't sure. I did say it was silly. And I did say it was that guy, but I think I said it was everybody at one point. Oh, I've just remembered what I said at the beginning. What did I say about crime dramas? I said the person that did it, the person that does it in crime dramas, is usually the first person you see. Who was the first person we see? The first person that, you know, we're brought to as a character? The guy, Waldo. He is the first person that is sort of presumes to be a suspect or something, and kept wanting to go to the murder scene and wanted to interview people. And I said, usually the person that interjects themselves more into the case and is the person, I don't think I said that, I thought it, and is the person that you first see and the person that always wants to find out all the little details about stuff. It was Waldo. Okay, sometimes I'm not quite correct with stuff, but with that, I think I was fairly on the nail with a fair amount of things in that. Some of the things I was working with the facts, and some other things I just kind of took my own instinctive thing for it. Let me know how many of you guys got that when you saw it. What your initial watch of that film was like. Who were you rooting for as the killer, and who were you rooting for as the good guy in the film? And did you think that Laura had gone, or did you think it was all a ruse? I genuinely thought that she'd gone, but at the same time, then when the dream sequence happened, I just could not wrap my head around it being real. Because of that beginning bit of the dream sequence, the bit where he falls to sleep with the drink in his hand, he's just taken a little swig and then he falls to sleep. And then the camera kind of pushes in on him and then pulls out again. And usually in film, that kind of thing would then instigate it being a dream sequence or something similar. But it happens and then we see Laura and it kind of fools you into thinking, this is a dream sequence, but it's not. It was reality. And everything about it kind of felt like a dream sequence, but then there were certain things that I was like, would it be? And I thought the bit where she doesn't pick up the phone at first, I thought, because it's a dream sequence, because if it wasn't a dream sequence, she would pick up the phone and the guy would hear her on the other end. But if it's a dream sequence, she picks up the phone and the guy doesn't hear her, or if the guy's not there on the other end, then it's obviously totally a dream sequence. But because she doesn't pick it up, it kind of makes you think, is it? Is it not? Phenomenal. That is a superb film. The 1940s really had something about it where they had brilliant ideas for films and very, very, very well executed films. I think a lot of that does tie into it being black and white as well, and the cinematography for me always looks better in black and white and in that kind of 4:3 aspect ratio. But yeah, I don't want to feel like I'm tooting my own horn, but I think I did alright with that. And, you know, picking out the little things and doing our little bits of detective work. If you really like that idea of doing that on these reactions and that, figuring out the plot line with me and seeing me figure out the plot line and stuff and where things are going to go. Right, as we always do, let's check out the trivia for this and find out little bits of information. Now this first one kind of makes it seem like there was a change of director / producer at one point with this, because it says, according to producer and director Otto Preminger, he had to work to win the respect of the cast, who all seemed hostile to him when he took over, with the exception of Clifton Webb. I learned later, he said, that Mamoulian had called each of them individually and warned them that I did not like their acting and intended to fire them. That's a bit harsh. It was not true. Dame Judith Anderson decided to confront him on the set. She said that if he wasn't happy with her performance, that he should show her how to make it better. Imagine that though, you're on the set, the director goes, you're a terrible actor. Like you've been acting for this other person already, and it's like, no, you're a terrible actor. Even though you've shot, however many films before, terrible. Alright then, you do it better. You come in and do it better. Hey, if someone out there is making a British detective drama thing, you need a guy who wears a suit. Despite the Oscar snub of the score, really, I thought it was a really good score. David Raksin's music proved to be so popular that the studio soon found itself inundated with letters asking if there was a recording available of the main theme. Yeah, apparently soon sheet music and recordings of the instrumental music were released and proved to be a huge hit with the public.
I have a very, very powerful gift for melody. The first one I did for him was Laura. It needed a theme, which I wrote. I don't remember exactly how this was. When they got around to doing this thing, where I was talking to them about the music, I had to come up with something, and by that time I had said to myself, I think this is a good idea for the tune. Played it for Otto Preminger and Al Newman, the boss at the music boss at the studio, and they agreed it was a very good thing, and that was it.
Vincent Price has always considered this to be the best movie he ever made. It's a completely different style to what I'd expect it to be for him. I'd expect something darker, but it's dark, but I felt like that was more of a playful role. Artist Azadia Newman, Reuben Mamalian's wife, was commissioned to paint the portrait of Laura, with which Detective Lieutenant McPherson becomes entranced, but it was not used in the final movie. So what was the one used in the movie then? In his autobiography, Otto Preminger wrote, "When I scrapped Mamoulian's set." Oh! So there was completely original sets at first. Right, so I just quickly looked this up. So apparently he refused to ever discuss his work on Laura, and the only real source about his involvement with the film was producer Otto Preminger, who as Mamoulian's replacement may not be the ideal informant. Preminger says in On Film, every director turned it down, nobody liked the script. I remember one was Louis Milestone. He wrote a very nice note. It said, well, Preminger probably knows what to do with the script. He should direct it. I won't. The man who finally accepted the script was Reuben Mamoulian. He also didn't like it, as it turned out, but he wanted the money. He directed a couple of other films for the same studio as Laura, so that was the reason why. Another reason he wanted to do it. I feel like there's probably more info about it, but a lot of that I can see is very vague. Or there's a lot to it. It says here, within 2 weeks of work having to be scrapped, Otto Preminger began his directing job with a purposeful vengeance. He threw everything out that Reuben Mamoulian had done, including the costumes, sets, and even the cinematographer, which is a shame that the cinematographer had to be changed. In addition, the original portrait of Laura, painted by Mamoulian's wife, was tossed out. And they could have kept it if they, all that work had gone into it before, so why not keep it instead of having to make another one? Although the one they used was beautiful. Yeah, going back to that other one that I read about, it says, in his autobiography, Otto Preminger wrote, "When I scrapped Mamoulian's sets, the portrait of Laura went with them. Portraits rarely photograph well, so I devised a compromise. We had a photograph of Jean Tierney enlarged and smeared with oil paint to soften the outlines." That's pretty cool, actually. It looked like a painting. It did. It looked like a painting in the film. So they didn't get another artist to make that. That is just a photo of Jean. Apparently Clifton Webb had to deal with the shock of seeing himself on screen after a long absence from Hollywood, watching the first of the rushes that included his first scene in the tub, where he meets McPherson for the first time. Apparently Webb nearly had a heart attack. When I saw myself sitting in the tub, looking very much like Mohandas K. Gandhi, I felt like I might vomit. After it was over, Dana saved my life with a big swig of bourbon. The first shock of seeing myself had a strange effect on me psychologically, as it made me realise for the first time that I was no longer a dashing young juvenile, which I must have fancied myself as throughout the years in theatre. I thought he was a brilliant actor though. He really had that role down, and even at the beginning, he was sly and he had this oddness to him and this bitter fierceness, but was a nice guy at the same time. He felt like he was a bit of a nice guy at the same time, but something was there, like he was about to snap at someone. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. A Hollywood Reporter news item reported that 2 minutes of footage had been cut from the movie, were then restored when it was released on Laserdisc. On the film's commentary itself, it is mentioned, and then there's also another extra. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play snippets of both of those and also include as much of this missing scene as possible.
A June 9, 1990 Hollywood Reporter news item reported that 2 minutes of footage that had been cut from the film was restored. Waldo described how he selected Laura's clothing and hairstyle, making her an extension of himself. The news item explains that 20th Century Fox was worried that Declaration would offend World War II soldiers overseas with its depiction of decadent luxury and non-military obsessions happening on the home front.
Laura had innate breeding, but she deferred to my judgment and taste. I selected a more attractive hairdress for her. I taught her what clothes were more becoming to her.
This material was cut from the original release. Zanuck felt this was too much of a fashion parade and that it deterred the storytelling process.
Through me, she met everyone. Her youth and beauty, her poise and charm of manner. She had warmth, vitality. She had authentic magnetism. Wherever we went, she stood out. Men admired her. Women envied her. She became as well known as Waldo Lydeck's walking stick and his white carnation.
Anyway, back to the video. 20th century studio head Darrell F. Zanuck was opposed to casting Clifton Webb because of Webb's known homosexuality, but producer and director Otto Preminger prevailed, and the 54-year-old Webb, making his first screen appearance since 1925, was nominated for an Oscar. Why be so weird to him? He's just an actor at the end of the day, same as every other actor. Strange people! Apparently Gene Tierney and a few of the others didn't feel like that would ever become a mystery classic. Gene Tierney didn't give herself much credit for its success. She said, "I never felt my own performance was much more than adequate. I am pleased that audiences still identify with me as Laura, as opposed to not being identified at all. Their tributes, I believe, are for the character, the dreamlike Laura, rather than any gifts I brought to the role. I do not mean that to sound modest. I doubt that any of us connected to the movie thought it had a chance of becoming a mystery classic, or a kind of mystery classic, she says, or enduring beyond its generation. If it worked, it was because the ingredients turned out to be right." It's got a great premise. It's got some really fantastic actors. Yeah, it's always interesting to read, though, that the people within a film don't tend to realise how big of a film it's going to become until it's become that, and then they go, looking back, like, we had no idea. The narration of this was originally intended to be Waldo, then Mark, then Laura, respectively. Mark and Laura's narratives were then later dropped. I think it works from Waldo's point of view. Now see, I agree with this, but I don't agree with this at the same time, because Vincent Price says something about Gene Tierney, and the whole, as a whole, I agree with it, but then what he says about her beauty just sits really strange or really odd. You'll see why. It says, according to his daughter Victoria, Vincent Price felt that Gene Tierney had as much to do with this movie's success as producer and director Otto Preminger's direction. I agree with that. He also says, in his opinion, it was Gene Tierney's odd beauty and underrated acting ability that made Laura so popular. Really? I mean, one, her rating, yes, okay, was definitely underrated. Fantastic actress. You saw all of the emotion in her face. Some of it was very cutesy and very, playful and happy, and then other times it was shock or mystery, and you're thinking, what's going on? Is she a bad person? Is she a good person? Is she happy to see this person? Is she not happy to see this person? Is she planning something? Is she not? There was all of that going in there. But the odd beauty thing? Really? I don't see the odd bit there. He also felt that her beauty was both timeless and imperfect. Is he blind? Oh, the portrait of Gene Tierney as Laura appeared in On the Riviera in 1951, co-starring Danny Kaye. Then later, Woman's World from 1954, starring Clifton Webb. Yay! Clifton Webb again. That's so cool that it was included in other films. In Woman's World 1954, the portrait hung on a wall amidst portraits of several other women who were supposed to have been former romantic interests of Ernest Gifford, Clifton Webb. That's cool. That's a nice little Easter egg there. Okay, in regards to the strange things happening with the filming of it, the original filming with Ruben being the director, here's some of the information. It's just a little addition. It was quite a big addition about the acting and the sets and the costumes and stuff. So when producer and director Otto Preminger had a chance to look at the first batch of dailies that came back, he was aghast. I had chosen a simple dressing gown for Dame Judith Anderson, but Ruben Mamoulian, influenced perhaps by association by the Medea role for which she was famous, as in Judith Anderson. I'm kind of reading this. Some of it doesn't quite make sense, but I'm reading it as is. verbatim, influenced perhaps by association, had dressed her in something flowing and Grecian. It was totally wrong for a contemporary story, and so were his sets. The performances were appalling. Dame Judith Anderson was overacting, Dana Andrews and Gene Tierney were amateurish, and there was even something wrong with Clifton Webb's performance. Preminger promptly had the rushes airmailed to 20th Century Fox studio head Darryl F. Zanuck in New York City so that he could see for himself what was happening with Laura. Zanuck agreed that it was a mess and ordered Ruben Mamoulian to shoot everything over again. Preminger, he reiterated, was still barred from the set when the second set of dailies proved to be just as bad as the first, if not worse. Darryl F. Zanuck decided to remove Ruben from the film altogether. That is how he got fired. I did wonder, because so much was being said. Finally, the words that Otto Preminger had wanted to hear all along came from Zanuck's mouth when he returned to Los Angeles, California. Monday, he told Preminger, "You can start directing Laura from scratch." Oh, interesting. The first cut of this movie included a sequence in which Vincent Price sings a song and accompanies himself on the piano. 20th Century Fox's public relations department planted stories declaring that Price, who sang with the Yale Glee Club and had a song in The House of the Seven Gables from 1940, would become the next Perry Como. The number was cut, however, and Price's singing career never happened. Imagine that was the other way around. Imagine he had sung the song in the film, they kept it in there with the release, and he then became a singer. We would have that wonderful voice singing, because I think he's got a really, really cool narration voice. I just think of the very famous lines from the Michael Jackson song Thriller. I just love the part in that song when he goes, "And rot inside a corpse's shell." I think the song that was cut of Vincent Price's, by the way, was called "You'll Never Know," and it was sung in a party scene. There's another bit of information that says that. Clifton Webb recalled grueling conditions shooting with Otto Preminger. "Laura took 10 weeks to make, and I was becoming more exhausted with every approaching day. Benzedrine in the daytime to keep me going and sleeping pills at night was not a happy combination." No, don't do that. Apparently Gene Tierney didn't originally want to make this movie, but it did it anyway under contract obligations. Wonder why. Like, there's no information backing up that, it just says it. So Lux Radio Theatre broadcast a 60-minute radio adaptation of this movie on February the 5th, 1945, with Dana Andrews, Gene Tierney and Vincent Price reprising their movie roles. Lux broadcast it a second time on February the 1st, 1954, with Tierney reprising her movie role and Victor Mature substituted for Andrews. I wonder if there is like a surviving version of that out there.
The Lux Radio Theatre brings you Laura, starring Dana Andrews, Gene Tierney, Vincent Price, and Otto Kruger.
Anyway, there's a ton of trivia for Laura from 1944. Go and check it out if you want to as well. I've looked up some of the bits of information there. There's other information about some of the actors and some information about the making of and that kind of thing. There's so much to go through. I've gone through some of the nitty-gritty information, some of the bits there that are really interesting, but there's tons more. Go and check it out. Let me know what you think to this film and what you think to my predictions for little bits of the film. Like, if you liked this video, then please consider clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel as well. It really helps me out and it helps to grow this, this little community of people that absolutely love and adore film.
Have you always wanted extra safe internet security? Do you want to watch those films in your country that you haven't had a chance to see because they're not available? Well, have no fear. One swift click of a button and you've got access. Now you may be thinking, what wizardry is doing this? Well, in actual fact, that's Surfshark for you. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, this video is sponsored by Surfshark. If you want to have all of that, plus extra safe internet security to stop all those spies spying over your shoulder, then why not try Surfshark today? If you sign up right now, you can get an exclusive Surfshark Black Friday deal. All you need to do is just enter the code Movies with Marty to get up to 6 additional months for free. Too good to be true? It's not. If you don't believe me, try yours today. The Movies with Marty way.
I appreciate you being here, watching this with me. There's more to come soon, loads more that I've been watching that I know you're going to love. And also a huge thank you to my Patreons and for this being requested over on Patreon. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care, stay safe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.